On today's episode of Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast, we're going to be talking about permission to dream. Hi, I'm Karen Cooper, a wife, mom of three, real estate broker, team owner, and founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate. As a realtor, I've personally helped well over 700 families in my career, and now I help thousands of women from all across the country balance real life and real estate through daily inspiration, motivation, and actionable plans to increase their success. Listen in as I share stories and tips from my life and business and interview some of my favorite people. Hi there, I'm glad you're here for today's episode. There's a couple stories I want to tell you kind of as we go through this conversation today. So this episode was really sparked by a meeting that I attended. So I'm sure, and this is not what this episode is about, but I just want to give you the context. I'm sure you've heard all about the acquisition. RE/MAX was recently, there's a deal happening right now. RE/MAX is being acquired by Real. I started my career at RE/MAX. I am currently at Real Brokerage. I've been here now for about 3.5 years. And so I was attending a town hall meeting the day that the announcement was made with Tamir Polik, who is the CEO of Real, what will soon be Real RE/MAX Group. And there was something that he said that really struck me. And in fact, if you're in our Empowering Women in Real Estate group on Facebook, and if you're not, I hope that you'll come join us. The group is actually what started the podcast. We're a group of over 41,000 women in the real estate industry. And I wrote a post about this the next day. But in that town hall meeting, Tamir said that 5 years ago, it was like February of 2021, 5 years ago, when Real was a tiny company, like 1,600 agents. And he went to the board, which at the time was like 3 people, right? Small little company. And he said, I have this crazy idea. Let's buy RE/MAX. And of course, 5 years ago, a company that, is like 1,600 people, definitely nowhere in the realm of something that was necessarily possible right then. But it was a dream. And it was one of those crazy ideas. And here, fast forward 5 years, and now that dream is coming into reality. And so it really, I had a great conversation with my business partner afterwards, and I was really thinking about what he said, and I was thinking about my career. And when I think about some of the different things that I've experienced and different milestones and different accomplishments, each one of them came out of a dream, came from kind of a crazy idea. Getting started in real estate in the first place, 24 years ago, I was getting laid off from my career in the pharmaceutical industry. I'd been laid off before. And so, I didn't want to get laid off again. I was tired. I didn't want to relocate for a job. So I had this crazy idea of, what if I get into real estate? My then fiance, now husband, and I had happened to be buying and selling homes for sale by owner. And, that process I found enjoyable. And so that was kind of a crazy idea of like, okay, what would it look like? What if I got into real estate? And that was kind of a crazy dream that worked, that has worked really, really well. And, there was a period of time where I was talking to my first team leader. I started out my career on a team about maybe buying her team. I was in conversations with a couple of agents, and, that was kind of a crazy idea. And while ultimately that was not the path for me, it kind of led to the next path, which, kind of felt crazy at that time. The market had tanked. I was pregnant with my third. It was literally like do or die if I was going to be able to continue in this business. And it was kind of a crazy idea to think of branching out on my own. And I did that. And that was one of the best things I'd done. And then getting my broker's license, and then, ultimately starting my real estate team 11 years ago with my partner, Vicky. That was one of those crazy ideas. We both were at this point where we knew, we were dreaming of what was next. Like, for her, she was kind of at a point where she was like, okay, maybe it's a franchise. Maybe, and we looked a lot at opening our own brokerage and looked at different franchise models, and nothing really clicked. And ultimately it was this team. And we, from the beginning, the crazy idea was kind of creating a very different kind of model than what was very common and what existed back then 11 years ago. And then now even, our team has been expanding nationally now for over 2 years. We're in 22 different states. And that was a crazy idea. And now is now a dream that's kind of pulling me forward to have, little mini platinum groups in every state across the country. Kind of a long story, kind of long lead in to tell you. But the point here is all of the best moments and all of the best times in my career, in my life too, but in my career, have really come from a dream, a crazy idea. And there have been moments, there have been long stretches actually in my career, in my life, where I wasn't dreaming. I was too tired and too beat down and too depressed and too frustrated with everything that was happening in my life and my health and family and business challenges, and to dream. All of those things had really stifled my ability to dream and to have crazy ideas. And I remember, my partner and I, we just celebrated 11 years together in partnership. And that's a long time. That's a long time for any partnership. And for really a large part of our time together, one or the other of us, we would be calling the other and saying, I have a crazy idea. I have a crazy idea. And not every idea turns into something, but just the fact of kind of having those ideas, it energizes you. And maybe that particular idea doesn't go anywhere, but sometimes it kind of sets you up for the next idea, or kind of sets you up for the next thing, which then becomes a dream. And so I really wanted to talk about that today, because I feel like, when I heard Tamir talk about this being, a dream, and how 5 years ago it was just a crazy idea that made no sense, it was a reminder to me that we need to spend more time dreaming, and we need to spend more time thinking about these crazy ideas. And that is, I think, really what, kind of makes life sweet. Instead of just slogging through the day-to-day and the to-do list, which is what we all do. I feel like, we just bounce from thing to thing to thing to thing, and, checking them off the list, and then they don't get done. And then you move it to the next week, and then the next week, and then it's just monotonous. And typically, I think when you're in that space, it's because you're not taking time to dream. There's something about midlife in real estate that nobody really talks about. You don't hate the business. In fact, you're probably really good at it. But sometimes after years or even decades, you just realize that you don't want to keep running your business the same way. Maybe you want fewer clients, or you're ready to step back from production altogether. And that's why I created the Midlife Real Estate Blueprint. It will help you to redesign your business for the next chapter and whatever that looks like for you. Visit empoweringwomenrealestate.com and click on Midlife Real Estate Blueprint to learn more. And so my purpose is just to hopefully inspire you to do some dreaming, inspire you to, come up with some crazy ideas. I want to kind of give you permission. That's the title of this episode, Permission to Dream. I want to give you permission to dream. It's not, I don't know, I think there comes a certain point in our life or in our business where it almost feels, I don't know that selfish is the right word, but it just almost feels like dreaming, it's not important. Like, it's not important. What's important is the to-do list. What's important is the whatever's happening in the weeds. But really, that dreaming is so important. Those crazy ideas are so important because it fuels you. If you think about, any business, like I'm looking around my office right now and I could pick, I mean, everything in here was created by someone at some point, right? The ink pen, the push pen, I have a remarkable tablet that I use for my notes. I always have a candle on my desk and I have this little, it's not a flame lighter, but you like push the button and it like makes like a little like electrical like current thing that lights the can like all of these things were crazy ideas at some point. These were crazy ideas at some point for someone. And, am I going to create the next paperclip? No, I'm definitely not going to do that. But can I create a business model for women in the real estate industry that are serious about growing, that are serious about leading, but don't want to sacrifice their life or their sanity or their children? Can I create a model that they can become a part of that can allow them to do that more easily? Yes, I can. We already are. And so for you, what is that? What are those things? And I would say even, whatever the crazy ideas, they shouldn't just be related to your business. And I think that that's kind of what can energize us even more sometimes is thinking about, you know, other crazy ideas. I'll give you another example. So my husband, he has been in the fire service literally since he was 14 years old. He started out as a volunteer. He has now been a career firefighter. He's a deputy chief. He has been, I want to say, is it 29 years? He's just waiting until he turned, like he could have retired years ago. He has the right number of years of service, but he's not 50 yet. He'll be 50 at the end of this month or at the end of next month. And so for the last couple of years, he has been kind of thinking about this moment. Will he retire? What will he do after he retires? Because he doesn't want to just retire and then, sit in a chair all day. Like, what does he want to do? So he started photographing one of our son, or both of our sons actually, when they were in high school. He started photographing them playing lacrosse, and that has expanded. And over the past couple of years now, there's nature photography, and he branched off a little bit and did a little bit of real estate photography last year. Got paid for doing some real estate photography and some headshots, and he got his first press pass this year for a game that he went to, and so he's starting to formulate kind of his crazy dream. Can I make another career out of doing the sports photography that I love? And it's so exciting, I think, to have something like that kind of drives you and fuels you, and it gives you energy. And so I really just want you to hear this today. It's not going to be very long, just very kind of short and sweet. I want you to hear this today and hopefully be inspired. Be inspired just to dream and to come up with a crazy idea. And that crazy idea, it doesn't mean that you have to drop everything and go all in on that right now. Maybe it does. Maybe it excites you so much that that's what you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe it's just that little thing that you maybe make a little incremental progress on, or you think about for a little bit, or you do some planning, or you just do a little bit of work, and you never know. You just don't know where it's going to take you. When I had that crazy idea 24 years ago, that, hey, I'm getting laid off and I need to have a job and maybe I should get into real estate. That was such a crazy idea. I could not conceive or perceive back then, 24 years ago, what this career would have looked like and what this would have turned into, what it did turn into, and is continuing to turn into. And that's what I want for you today. I want you to think about your crazy ideas. My crazy ideas, I want to have those teams of women all across the country that are part of our platinum group. I want every team member to be earning income through a revenue share pillar. Currently, 44% of our team members do. I want everyone to have that benefit, to have that passive income coming in. I dream of, one of my sons, he's about to graduate from college. He's getting his real estate license. He loves lacrosse. He was a college lacrosse player, and
I have a crazy idea for him. I have crazy ideas for him for ways to, he's done some coaching and I've got ideas for social media accounts and he doesn't even know what he's in for when he when he moves back home this summer. I have all these crazy ideas, which might resonate to him, maybe not, but that's fine. So, I have a crazy idea of like owning a bookstore in a little town by the water, a little town where everybody walks around and having a little bookstore or a little gift store. I have a crazy idea of working in the Christmas shop at Magic Kingdom. Like these are all crazy things. And, some of them I may never do. But just kind of having those kind of crazy ideas, I think what happens or what I start to find a lot of times is I will find some kind of similarity or there's some kind of feeling that is associated with each dream or a feeling that's associated with each crazy idea that's kind of like you start to find kind of a common thread. And that common thread can start to lead you to the next thing, right? Like when I look at my common thread 12 years ago, when I started empowering women in real estate, literally empowering women in their real estate businesses has become a defining thread for me in my real estate career that is leading to these next, I have an all female team that's leading to these next dreams, right? These next crazy ideas. So find your common thread. Like, what's the common thread between the things that you dream about, the things that you think about? So that's really all I have for you today. Nothing concrete in terms of a lesson or, action steps. Take some time with yourself. Sit down in the sunshine with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and a notebook and just dream and just scribble down some things and scribble down some ideas. And maybe you just go back and you reread that every now and then. And you just don't know where it's going to take you. So truly, I would so love if you would share with me what a crazy idea is for you, what a dream is for you. Come message me on Instagram. I'm at karen.w.cooper. And until next time, stay well.
Thank you for listening to Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast. Click subscribe to be notified every Wednesday when our latest episode is released, and be sure to check out our group on Facebook.